Welcome to my show. The guest here. Her name is Andrea Wasserman. Andrea, how are you doing, ma?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Andrea. Firstly, you are an executive coach. You are also the founder of the Executive Express. Can you please, Andrea, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Andrea?
Yes. So I have spent the past 25 years working across Fortune 500 companies and smaller companies and different types of organizations and have been really focused on my career growth. So climbing the corporate ladder is the expression that is often used. And that's what I've been working really hard toward. And most recently, I discovered in my past couple of roles that as much as I love running consumer businesses, I am really passionate about the people pieces of the equation, meaning coaching others to get the raises and promotions that they want. And so when I left my last corporate role last year, I decided to focus full time on coaching mid career leaders to become senior executives as quickly as possible.
Oh, that's very, very beautiful insight. Thank you so much, Andrea, for the insight. I would also like to dive, if from your experience as a coach, guiding the midlife people to the executive area now, have you written any book or are you planning to write any book in the coming future, Andrea?
It's definitely on my long term to do list, but I don't have immediate plans to write a book. And I do just want to quickly clarify it's not midlife people I'm coaching in terms of age specifically. I say mid career. So typically that's anybody from, a manager level through a VP or SVP level, anybody who has a bit of traction, but still sees a lot of runway in front of them to continue to grow and accelerate their careers. And I also do some work with college students to help them start out on the right foot.
Thank you so much for the correction, Andrea. I would like to dive to the point of networking and also building relationship. There are a lot of things that people get wrong when it comes to those areas, Andrea. What do you think most people get wrong about networking and relationship building at the highest level, Andrea?
Some people dread the idea of networking. They even hear the word networking and start to tense up because they think that it has to be a very formal, scripted type of process. And I always say that the best way to network is to be naturally curious and interested in other people and what they're doing and how you can help them and what wins they have that you want to celebrate or amplify in some way. So, at the most basic level, it's really about building relationships and asking people what they're working on, how you might be able to help them, and then, of course, sharing what you're working on as well. It's a conversation more than anything else.
Thank you so much for those insights. Definitely, that shows that curiosity is very important on building relationship when it comes to those areas. Thank you so much for those insights, Andrea. And I also like to dive to some practical ways you feel, that are long-term relationship without always asking for something. So, what do you think are some practical ways to nurture long-term relationship without always asking for something, Andrea?
It's actually less about asking for something than it is about offering. And so simply asking people what you can do to support their endeavors is really an evergreen question that you can ask in the first meeting and continue to ask in the years to come. It's also a great idea to stay in touch with people by simply letting them know that you encountered something that made you think of them. So, for example, you might see a newspaper article about a topic that you and that person discussed, and just send them a quick note mentioning that. It doesn't need to be an overly orchestrated email. It can be a quick, saw this and it made me think of you. Or I just walked by the coffee shop where you and I got together once and wanted to say hi. Hope everything is going well. So, those are some easy ways that without having to spend a lot of time crafting the perfect type of outreach, you can stay in touch with people and continue to build that relationship by remaining top of mind for them.
Oh, that is very beautiful. Thank you so much for that insight, Andrea. And also, there could also be mindset that also, There could also be mindset blocks that definitely also keep some people from these influential individuals. What do you think are the mindset blocks that also keep people from connecting with these influencer individuals, Andrea?
I think part of it is just assuming that people don't want to be helpful or won't make the time. Of course, there is always the chance that you'll reach out to somebody to network or to ask them for a question and they won't get back to you, or they'll get back to you and say no. But in many, many cases, people want to give back and pay it forward and will be responsive and helpful. And if you don't ask, you don't get. That's one of my favorite sayings. And so right now, you don't know the person, you don't have a relationship with them. And the worst that happens is that you reach out and you still don't know them and you don't have a relationship with them. So I think getting over that fear of even asking is an important first step. And then the other piece of it is realizing that you don't need to have an entire conversation scripted with a ton to say. You can have a couple of simple questions or statements.
Hmm. What you say currently now is definitely very beautiful. That fear is also one of a very big thing in the time when it comes to, reaching out to people is definitely not easy. Someone has to know how to definitely know how to communicate more nicely and more calmly to get that person attention, taking it step by step. So definitely, if someone can definitely overcome that fear, it will definitely help the person in a very, very long way, Andrea. And that is why I would
That
like to dive to that point, Andrea. How do you think someone can overcome that fear of rejection, is rejected, or someone to say no to someone at high level spaces, Andrea?
I think it's remembering that, first of all, fear is just that, it's fear. You don't know what's going to happen. And so, for every moment that you spend thinking, what if this person doesn't get back to me? Or what if the person gets back to me and is rude? Or what if the person sees my note and thinks that I was silly for reaching out? Well, really force yourself to think about, what if the person gets back to me and is really warm and generous? What if the person sees my note and thinks really highly of me for having reached out? And so it's being balanced and caring for yourself in how you're anticipating the situation. And then it's also realizing that people are not going to spend that much time thinking about you. So even if the person doesn't get back to you or doesn't get back to you in the nicest way, they are probably moving on with their day. They are not spending a lot of time thinking how silly you were for reaching out.
That is also very, very beautiful, honestly speaking. When reaching out to people is definitely not an easy thing. So that shows that the person even you are sending this is not really definitely worried. The truth is just that if the person is definitely going to give the response, he or she is going to give it. And if the person is not going to, then I think owners just have to move on. There are hundreds and thousands of more people someone can still reach out to that will definitely see, as you said earlier, someone will come and will say, this is very beautiful. And another person might come and say, I don't think this is worth my time. So that is just how the life is, and that is how it works. So it's just a normal way of life. Thank you so much for that insight, Andrea. And also, I would like to also dive to specific habits or rituals that you think you can recommend to stay top minded, to stay top on the mind in your network. I do think there are specific habits or rituals you recommend to stay top of mind in your network, Andrea?
For starters, it's when you think of somebody, actually taking 30, 60, 90 seconds to reach out and let them know. Whether it's a close enough relationship where you're going to send them a quick text, or whether it's more of an email outreach, just let people know that you thought of them. That's one. Another, in a more mass way, is to be active on the social media platforms of your choice where you know that people are following you or where your message can be amplified. And that just reminds people that you exist and you're out there and you're interesting and you have something to say or to share. And if you're not comfortable actively posting, just following along and commenting or replying to others also reminds them that you're there.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for those insights. And that's just how the world is, honestly speaking. Thank you so much for those insights. I also like to dive to, one relationship building that you think, there could be any small development when it comes to relationship building that can really give a very, very huge result. So, what do you think, if there is anyone, Andrea, what do you think are one relationship building move that it seems small but could create exponential results over time, Andrea?
It's follow up and follow through. So if you connect with somebody, following up afterwards to thank them, if they gave you advice that later ends up paying off, following up again at that point and letting them know that they gave you, for example, interviewing advice and you got the job, or they gave you advice for dealing with something on the job and that went really well, things like that. And then the follow through piece of it is in the scenario where you tell them that you're going to do something for them, whether it is introducing them to somebody or providing some type of information, then it should go without saying, but it does bear repeating sometimes that you should actually follow through and do that.
Hmm. Follow up, follow through. It's definitely, it's definitely if someone can definitely develop that type of character, develop those type of habits, it will definitely be easy. It could be difficult in the first place, but if someone can definitely know how, one can definitely follow up, follow through. And as you said earlier, sincere appreciation and knowing how one can just get through the conversation and hand in hand. Definitely the blessing is just gonna be coming like water, honestly speaking. So I want to
Mhm.
sincerely thank you for that insight, Andrea. Lastly, Andrea, there's a question I normally ask Andrea. From the forefathers, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Andrea, what do you think that thing would be, Andrea?
My friend Susan McPherson wrote a book called The Lost Art of Connecting. And so I do think that just in some cases, getting away from our screens and being real humans together and having conversation and developing authentic connection is just so important and so joyful.
Completely agree with you, Andrea. We do know that the time that we are currently now is a time of technology. It's not easy. It's really pressure. Everybody are busy, busy, busy. Everybody are on the phone. So there's no design of human connection, which is really not easy. I have to be honest with you in our time currently. But we do hope for the best in the coming future. I want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity you've given to me and speaking on this important topic. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
All right. So have a wonderful day, Andrea. Bye bye.
You too.